This will sound very strange, but the blood moon lunar eclipse on November 8th, 2023, that occulted the planet Uranus exactly 84 years after another blood moon lunar eclipse occulted Uranus, right before the beginning of World War II, the war that saw the first nuclear bomb used, and a prophecy involving the prophetess Anna at the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, recorded in Luke chapter 2 in the Bible, is an amazing prophecy from God that is predicting that Israel will bomb Iran's nuclear energy and weapons facilities on October 9th, 2023. And then Israel will nuke and completely destroy Damascus, Syria on October 26th, 2023. The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. The analysis in this video explains how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections pointed to the date September 4th, 2023, and this video explains why it was believed that September 4th would be the predicted date that Israel would nuke and completely destroy Damascus, Syria, and fulfill the prophecy in the 17th chapter of the book of Isaiah in the Bible. Since the time of the original production of this video, God's signs have revealed more knowledge, and instead of nuking Damascus, Syria on September 4th, it is now predicted that Israel will nuke Damascus, Syria on October 26th, 2023, and fulfill Isaiah chapter 17, 17 days after it is predicted that Israel will bomb Iran on October 9th. September 4th ended up being a step in the trail of signs that is leading to the predicted date that Israel will nuke Damascus, Syria. September 4th was the day of the prophetic Burning Man sign, the amazing details of which are explained in the must-watch Burning Man prophecy video. Every year at the end of the Burning Man festival, 70,000 quote-unquote burners leave en masse in what is called the Exodus. This year, the Exodus was a muddy disaster when the Playa Desert sand turned to mud due to unprecedented rain. The quote-unquote burners were trapped for days before they were finally allowed to begin the Exodus at 14 o'clock local time on September 4th, 1400 military time. The reason the Exodus began at 14 o'clock was because the disastrous Burning Man Exodus is symbolism for an evacuation, and it is predicted that Israel will bomb Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant and cause an evacuation in southwest Iran on October 9th, 14 days after it is predicted that a dirty bomb or suitcase nuke will be detonated in Manhattan, New York City, and cause an evacuation of Manhattan Island on September 25th. More is explained in the Burning Man video, but this is also why DJ Diplo and Chris Rock were part of this Burning Man news story, and why the video of them leaving Burning Man in the back of a pickup truck went viral. They left Burning Man with Austin Butler, who played Elvis in the recent Elvis movie, and also on September 4th was the world premiere of the new movie about Elvis's relationship with 14-year-old Priscilla. Also, the predicted evacuation in southwest Iran on October 9th will be 35 days after the prophetic Exodus evacuation from Burning Man on September 4th, and the nation of Persia was renamed Iran in 1935. And the 35th chapter of the book of Isaiah in the Bible is a prophecy about the parched land of the desert becoming a pool of water and about a road that God's ransomed will travel on called Highway of Holiness. The burners in their exodus out of the parched land that had been turned to pools of water traveled down what is called Gate Road, and in the Bible, judgment on a people symbolically begins at the gate. The prophetic Burning Man exodus on September 4th, that was the result of sand turning to mud, was 9 days after Bob Barker died at the age of 99 on August 26th, and Barker is famous for his fight scene in a movie with Jewish comedian Adam Sandler, in which Sandler is thrown into water and is soaking wet, which hints at the sand turning to mud at Burning Man 9 days after Sandler's tribute tweet to Barker on the day he died at the age of 99. Barker rhymes with Bashur, and the fight between Barker and the Jewish comedian hints at the fight between the Jewish nation Israel and Iran when Israel will bomb Iran's Bashur nuclear power plant. Barker hosted the TV game show The Price is Right for a record 35 years, and Persia was renamed Iran in 1935. The name Bob Barker in English gematria is equal to 444, and on the day that the host of The Price is Right died, news broke that the U.S. Marines are buying, for the right price, 44 of Israel's Iron Dome launchers. This was on August 26th, which is 44 days before it is predicted that Israel will bomb Iran's Bashur nuclear power plant on October 9th, which will be 17 days before it is predicted that Israel will nuke Damascus, Syria on October 26th and fulfill Isaiah chapter 17. In Hebrew gematria, Damascus, Syria is 999, and in the Bible, the number 9 is symbolic of God's judgment. And in the Bible, the city of Damascus is symbolic of the world. God will judge the world that will be led by the Antichrist after it attempts to destroy Israel and make Jerusalem an international city. It is predicted that there will be an evacuation in southwest Iran 14 days after it is predicted that there will be an evacuation in New York City on September 25th. September 25th will be exactly 9 years, which symbolizes judgment, after the birth of the second of 2 prophetic cows, born with the number 7 on its forehead. These cows pointed to the king of Egypt's dream in the Bible about 14 cows. In the dream, the 14 cows are separated into 2 sets of 7 cows, and the latter 7 cows are symbolic of the end times period of 7 years of the Antichrist. In Bible prophecy, it is said that this symbolic 7 years of the Antichrist begins after 69 sets of 7 years. This is why at the same time that the 7 cow was born on September 25th, 2014, the Antichrist spoke at the opening of the 69th UN General Assembly in New York City, which is exactly 9 years, which symbolizes judgment, before it is predicted that a dirty bomb or suitcase nuke will explode in New York City, which will lead to an evacuation of New York City, and this will be 14 days before it is predicted that there will be an evacuation in southwest Iran after it is bombed by Israel. These 14 days in between these 2 evacuations are hinted at with this connection to the 14 cows. The planet Uranus hints at uranium, a chemical element used in nuclear bombs. Uranus is the 7th planet from the Sun, and it has an orbital period of 84 years. In Bible prophecy, the end times period of the Antichrist is said to be 7 years. 7 years is 84 months. And this is why Uranus is the 7th planet from the Sun and has an orbital period of 84 years. Uranus also has a tilt of 98.7 degrees. This means that in an 84 Earth years orbital period around the Sun, its poles get around 42 years of continuous sunlight, followed by 42 years of continuous darkness. This is designed by God to hint at Bible prophecy that describes the period of the Antichrist as being a symbolic 42 months. Furthermore, Daniel 9:27 describes the period of the Antichrist as being a symbolic 84 months, divided into two halves of 42 months. So I'll just repeat that again. Because of the tilt of the axis of Uranus, it's basically revolving on its side. And so in its orbital period, half of it gets one side of the sunlight and the other half gets darkness, and that's divided into half. So because the orbital period is 84 months, we have 42 years each for each side. And that's astounding because that's exactly how Bible prophecy breaks down. This prophecy of 84 months in Daniel chapter 9:27, the period of the end times and the Antichrist, is broken into two halves of 42 months. So that's amazing. The man who discovered uranium named it after the planet Uranus, named after the primordial Greek god of the sky. 4 + 4 years after the planet was first discovered. So this 4 + 4 years in between the discovery of Uranus and uranium reveals the identity of the Antichrist, the 44th president. And again, this is because of all of the numbers here, the 7th planet from the Sun. Okay, so Daniel 9:27, this is the most central prophecy in the Bible, and it regards this last verse of this chapter and prophecy regards the 70th week, the 70th set of 7 years, symbolic 7 years. And so this planet is the 7th planet from the Sun, and its orbit is 84 months, and this 70th week, the 70th set of 7 years, is 84 months, and it's divided by 2. So all of this is Antichrist symbolism. Furthermore, we have the passage in Jude, for that matter, which speaks about the wandering stars in reserved for utter darkness. And this is one of the planets that technically, supposedly you can see it, but it's one of the planets that you can't see in the night sky. I know that sounds odd, right? But it's rare that someone can spot it with the naked eye. Okay, so, and anyway, the point here too is that the planet, or rather uranium, was named 4 + 4 years after the planet was discovered. So these two discoveries happened 4 + 4 years apart, and that's part of this revealing of the identity of the Antichrist, the 44th president, because of all of this. Well, on November 8th, 2022, a blood moon lunar eclipse occulted Uranus. And the amazing thing about this is that this was 84 years exactly after another blood moon lunar eclipse occulted Uranus on the night of November 7th and 8th, 1938. Okay, and this was the year before World War II began, implying that this recent one, 84 years later, that also occulted Uranus, which is rare. It's not like every day you have the moon occulting in a blood moon, Uranus, and it's exactly 84 years apart. And that's the orbital period of Uranus. That's another thing that's adding to this coincidence. And Uranus is symbolic of uranium. And when was the first nuclear bomb used? In World War II. And this eclipse occurred the year before World War II began in 1939. And this eclipse in other words, is implying that it was a year before war using a nuclear bomb. The first nuclear bomb was used in World War II, and this implies the next nuclear bomb will be used in 2023. And that is what is predicted. It is predicted that Israel will nuke Damascus, Syria on September 4th. And when will September 4th be? It will be 9 months and 27 days after this eclipse. Okay, so again, here I just explained how Daniel 9:27 is the last verse of this prophecy that is symbolism for the end times. Or rather, it's regarding the end times. But so the numbers 9:27 hint at that. They are symbolic of that. Okay, and now I've just explained how the planet Uranus was occulted, meaning that the moon blocked the planet from view during a blood moon, exactly 84 years apart. And 84 is the symbolic number in Daniel 9:27. And this last occult of this moon, or rather Uranus by the moon, is 9 months and 27 days before it is predicted that Israel will nuke Damascus and use the first nuclear bomb. Because again, the last occulting of the planet Uranus by the moon during a blood moon preceded a year before the nuke was used, before the war began that involved the nuke, the first one, and this will be the next use of the nuke after that war. And that's amazing. So that's, and also 927, 27 is 9 plus 9 plus 9. The number 9 is the most important number in God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, which is only being explained on this channel, as from the Bible, the number 9 symbolizes God's judgment. And Roman letters are also numbers, just like Hebrew letters. And the Hebrew gematria value, numeric value of the name Damascus, Syria, is 999. And so this nuke will be used 9 months and 27 days. It'll be used on Damascus, Syria, which is the equivalent of 999. And it'll be used, Israel will drop the bomb on Damascus 9 months and 27 days, which also hints at 999 after this prophetic blood moon lunar eclipse that occulted Uranus, which hints at uranium, which hints at nuclear bomb. And it was one full cycle around with all of that Antichrist, because the 42 years plus 42 years on each side of the planet with the sun and darkness, all of that. I don't believe this pattern implies that World War III is about to break out. I don't see that in Bible prophecy. I don't think that's going to happen. There is something else that is about to happen that will involve a nuclear bomb. Israel will bomb Iran's nuclear weapons facilities and then nuke Damascus, Syria in 2023, which is leading to the redemption of Israel. It's part of this process of God restoring Israel. Out of the chaos, Israel will take back the Temple Mount and begin or resume religious rituals and worship on the Temple Mount. This process of the redemption of Israel is focused on the Temple Mount. The nuking of Damascus is part of the process. The connection between Uranus and the redemption of Israel is hidden in the following verse. Luke 2:36. And there was a prophetess, Anna, the daughter of Phanuel, of the tribe of Asher. She was advanced in years, having lived with her husband 7 years from when she was a virgin. This is verse 37. And then as a widow until she was 84. She did not depart from the temple, worshiping with fasting and prayer night and day. And coming up at that very hour, she began to give thanks to God and to speak of him to all who were waiting for the redemption of Jerusalem. The prophetess Anna was 84 years old when Jesus was brought to the temple as a baby. She lived with her husband for 7 years, which is 84 months, and this hints at Daniel 9:27. And Daniel 9:27 regards Israel and the Antichrist. It is predicted that Israel will nuke Damascus, Syria on September 24th, 2023, exactly 9 months and 27 days after the blood moon lunar eclipse that occulted Uranus. So this is also, as I'm saying, hidden in this prophecy here. Because Jesus said to the Jews that he wouldn't return until they called upon him by his name, which they will do out of a moment of desperation when the world is about to destroy Israel. And that's when Jesus returns at his second coming. And so this woman here, Anna, is waiting for the redemption of Jerusalem, which is the second coming. And the second coming, a big instigator of his second coming will be this nuking of Damascus. It will really get the ball going. And Jesus will return just shortly over a year after that, on the Day of Atonement in 2024. But the events leading up to that will be kicked off, if you will, with Israel nuking Damascus. And we have the 7 years and 84 years in this woman, this description of this woman. I mean, it's not really necessary that this be in the passage. Why is it even really describing how many years she was with her husband and then was a widow? It's not completely necessary, really. But it is, because this is what God is revealing. He's revealing the nuking of Damascus, which will be 9 months and 27 days after this occult of the 84-year period. Because this woman lived for 84 years until she was 84. And she was a widow, just like God became a widow after the Jews rejected him, Jesus. So, okay. That's amazing. Now, the Antichrist that will be on the Temple Mount will rise to power after Israel will nuke Damascus. Damascus is symbolized by the number 444. The 440, that's explained in other videos. The 444th word in Strong's Greek New Testament Concordance is the word for man. The Antichrist is the 44th president, and he was born on the date 8-4, which hints at 84. It also hints at 4 plus 4 and 4. He will rule, which is the number of man. He will rule during this, which is the number of the word for man, sorry. He will rule during the symbolic 84 years described in Daniel 9:27, this Antichrist, the 44th president. He will be defeated on the Temple Mount at the return of Lord Jesus Christ on October 12, 2024, exactly 404 days after Israel is predicted to nuke Damascus, which is symbolized by 444, on September 4th, 2023. This 404 days obviously hints at the 44th president and the 444 and the number for Damascus, which is why it's 404 days after the nuking of Damascus. This defeat of the Antichrist on the Temple Mount by God and his deliverance of Jerusalem and his holy mountain is described in Isaiah chapter 31. Isaiah chapter 31 begins with, quote, "Woe to those who go down to Egypt," unquote. Exactly 31 weeks after Israel will nuke Damascus will be the eclipse over America, including Little Egypt in the center of America on the date 4/8 in 2024. 4-8 hints at the 48th president and hints at the number 84 and 84 months in Daniel 9:27. Isaiah chapter 31 describes the defeat of the Antichrist and God's deliverance of his holy mountain and Jerusalem. And this chapter begins with the word woe, exclamation mark, which is the 188th word in Strong's Hebrew Old Testament Concordance. And it is used in context of extreme judgment. Exactly 188 days after the eclipse over Little Egypt on 4/8 in 2024 will be the Day of Atonement in the Hebrew calendar, and it will be the day of the Lord, when he will return and defeat the Antichrist on the Temple Mount. Okay, so just to summarize this paragraph again here. From the day Israel will nuke Damascus, it's 404 days to the second coming. And from the day that Israel is predicted to nuke Damascus, it is exactly 31 weeks and then 188 days to Judgment Day. And 188 is symbolic of extreme judgment, and 31 weeks hints at Isaiah chapter 31, because the midpoint that connects the 31 weeks and then 188 days is the eclipse that will pass over Little Egypt. In fact, Little Egypt is also the location that the 2017 eclipse passed over and peaked over. And this is very symbolic because Little Egypt is symbolic of Egypt in the Bible, which is, and the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, which is symbolic type for the Antichrist and the Antichrist system that will persecute God's people, just like Pharaoh and the Egyptians persecuted the Hebrews. And so the two eclipses will cross over each other right in the middle of the country, exactly where the first one peaked. But it is Little Egypt, and that's why the 31 weeks connects to it, followed by 188 days. I hope you appreciate it. I hope I explained it enough that you appreciate this, because we're talking about the kickoff event, if you will, of the end times and Daniel 9:27, because Daniel 9:27 talks about the Antichrist making a covenant and being this man of peace. And that's exactly what will happen. Out of the ashes of this event will rise the Antichrist, who will come in the name of peace. But the Antichrist is the American Pharaoh, which is why the Triple Crown winner American Pharaoh in 2015, the first Triple Crown winner in 444 months after the last Triple Crown winner, just for example. And so, and right after becoming president, Barack Obama went down to Egypt to deliver his famous Cairo, Egypt speech, in which he went to tell the Muslim world that America is no longer a Christian nation in June of 2009. So anyway, the day that Israel will nuke Damascus will be 404 days, which hints at the 44th president who went down to Egypt. And the day that Israel will nuke Damascus is also 31 weeks to the day that the eclipse will go over Little Egypt. And by the way, the first eclipse went over Little Egypt exactly 3,000 days after Barack Obama went down to Cairo, Egypt to deliver his speech. And 3,000 is a number from the book of Exodus, which is the book in the Bible about the Jews' exodus from Egypt. 3,000 Hebrews perished after their rebellion at Mount Sinai. The Greek word used for heaven in the Bible is Uranus, which literally means sky. It is from this word that the planet Uranus gets its name. In Greek mythology, Uranus is the personification of the sky and one of the Greek primordial deities. After the 1,000 years of peace on earth, during the King of Kings' rule from the Temple Mount, a new Jerusalem will come down from heaven, Uranus. In this way, Uranus is also symbolic of redemption, the redemption of God's creation to himself. Uranus's 84-year orbit is equivalent to 7 times 12 years. 7 is God's signature number, and the number 12 is repeated in the verses in the book of Revelation that describe the New Jerusalem that will come down from heaven above, the sky, Uranus. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Please leave a like and upvote the video. And once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know and more. Don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, TrumpPrediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the BitChute.com or the Odyssey.com channel. And do it now in case you aren't able to later.